Did you see that? Was that so?
Yeah.
My little dog's chasing a lizard around the garden.
That's great.
A lot of people see COVID-19 as the death knell for bars and restaurants. But what I've observed at places like Sydney and Brisbane, where infection numbers are low and restrictions being lifted, is that people are desperate for social contact and they're more enthusiastic to go out than ever before. Today I talked to Dushan Zaric of Employees Only to see what he thinks what's going to happen to hospitality in the post-COVID-19 world.
Hi, Dushan. How are you?
I am great. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. I share my office in Sydney with a guy who owns a fairly substantial venue in Sydney's King's Cross.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been hammered by lockout laws and then having to shut during COVID and things like that. He's got gaming facilities which basically keep the business alive. But he's burning through tens of thousands of dollars a week just keeping this whole thing going. And he's a seasoned bar owner. He has owned at times in his career like whole conglomerates of different bars and restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's able to struggle through where a lot of people aren't. There's a lot of for lease signs along our street. And then all of a sudden, his manager was in the other day and said they had the best weekend trading numbers in years, just a couple of weeks ago. Just as the restrictions are starting to lift in Sydney, suddenly it was warm, people were flooding in. Are you seeing anything similar at Employees Only around the world as sort of COVID restrictions lift and things?
Well, I'm glad that Sydney is actually lifting restrictions, and that that speaks to a whole different host of factors and circumstances, including political and cultural, and that's great, and I love that. We are seeing the same thing at Employees Only Sydney. Singapore has been doing quite well as well. But the rest of the Employees Only is Los Angeles and New York at this time, we're closed. We're closed because the American government is completely incompetent and unable to provide any kind of guidance other than extreme measures. And we are fortunate to have had some reserves, just like your friend, and we can go through this time, but it's not been easy. It's not been easy, especially for our employees, for their families, and people who depend on them.
So do you anticipate there's going to be a kind of survivor bias here, that if you can keep your hospitality business going through all the lockdowns and the shutdowns and things, that afterwards there's going to be a kind of slingshot effect where people are going to be rushing back? Business could potentially be better than ever?
I definitely hope so. But although it says psychic as on the forefront of every Employees Only, I'm sadly not a psychic in that way that I can foretell the future. I certainly hope that people, I know I am fed up with sitting at home and being bored. And I cannot wait to go out and start working and start going out and enjoying the atmosphere in restaurants and bars for sure. But one has to take into account that a lot of people have been unemployed. A lot of people have lost their jobs. I don't know how much expendable income there will be. I'm talking about the United States for bars and restaurants in the future. There is certainly, we're seeing a lot of closures. Some estimates speak about third of all independent restaurants will not survive this pandemic, which is an astonishing number if you think about it. The numbers range between 10 and 20 million Americans documented who are working in the hospitality industry. Add to that another at least 5 or 6 million undocumented people who work in these places, and you have a huge negative effect economically on this part of the population. So how many people will actually be able to afford a $20 cocktail moving forward once the restrictions ease, and let's say come September, October, we kind of come out of this pandemic a little bit. It remains to be seen. I'm certain that people are definitely looking forward to travel again, to go out, to visit bars and restaurants, and to basically have that social experience as well. It is not the same when you are dating on a dating app. It's not the same. I mean, bars and restaurants, bars specifically, have been always a place where people meet and explore each other and get to kind of participate in that energy exchange, which is not the same when you look at somebody's face at the screen. So I would hope that things will go back even stronger than they were.
Just thinking though, they say in a recession, people tend to stop going out and they start buying luxury foods to consume at home and things like that, because it's a bit cheaper, but it's still a cheap luxury. Could that give bars an advantage over restaurants in that it's exciting and festive to go out and spend $20 on a cocktail, but you're only spending $20 on a cocktail, you're not spending $75 on a meal?
Possibly. There was this kind of common wisdom that would say that hospitality is basically recession proof in a sense, because when times are good, people are going out and celebrating. When times are not good, people are going out and drinking to ease the pain. When you have a new family member born into the family, you celebrate with drinking. When somebody passes on, you kind of drown it with alcohol. So it was said to us, no matter what happens, we'll be good because people need restaurants and bars. Well, nobody thought about a pandemic. And this was a severe shock, I got to tell you, to a lot of people in our industry. We were not prepared for this, not at all. And so I do see some people trying to survive by focusing more on takeout and delivery, including bottled cocktails. But these revenues are nothing compared to what we are accustomed to when the situation is normal. So yeah, possibly, but I don't really know how things are going to go, and I would advise that we are very open to be fluid and adapt to change as it comes.
You've been in this business, well, employees only, it's been in this business for 16 years, which makes me think that you've weathered a few recessions and things before. Is that fluidity and willingness to change part of the formula for survival in hospitality?
I believe so. I think in general in life, I heard it once explained really beautifully. Being a conservative is not a political attitude. It is fear and resistance to change, which is kind of insane, because change is the only thing you can really count on in life. Nothing stays the same. And so, we had to change. We had to adapt. We weathered a few recessions, including the 2008, 2009 huge market crash and housing crash. We weathered all kinds of things in New York, but that was a microcosm of New York, where you still kind of are serving the same market and the same clientele that you always have, which is kind of the upmarket crowd that can afford all that. And we're not a big place. But now with more outlets around the world, we have to be a little bit more aware of the global shifts and the global realities of the new economy. But I'm sure that we will be able to not only react, but also adapt and flow with whatever is thrown our way.
I think maybe we'll finish on that positive note. Thanks very much, Dushan. Good luck.
Thank you. Well, I've done this so much.
I know. Jeremy said, "Oh, I love listening to Dushan talk. Just get him to talk."